Tusks up, Utah Mammoth fans. Welcome into another Utah Mammoth Daily. We are less than a month from rookies reporting to camp. I know there's electricity in the air, and it's not just because of all the wildfires in the state. But no, it's because we've got hockey coming. Hockey's coming up. College football's coming up. It's an exciting time to be in Utah. And then you got basketball as well. But with the Utah Mammoth, rookie camp coming up. And obviously, we all know this. We've been hearing it for a while, but Utah has one of the most exciting prospect pools in the NHL, consistently in the top 10, if not the top 5 of the league, when you're looking at just how deep the prospect pool is and the talent that's sitting there, and a couple of the guys that are banging their heads against the wall trying to bust through and get onto the roster. And that's really exciting. I can't wait to see reports out of there, the grainy Twitter videos that we all see, and getting some interviews with these young guys as well. TJ Ginla, he's getting pretty good in front of the camera. So the work that he's been doing is paying off, at least in that aspect. And then you got Dmitry Simashev, who's also good in front of the camera, and Caleb Desnoyers. That's definitely a storyline worth watching. The last time we saw Desnoyers on the ice, he had to be helped off, and it looked really, really painful. For me, I hope it was, I'm going to say it like this, but I don't mean it. I hope it was just a dead leg. If anybody here who has ever had a dead leg, it's never just a dead leg. You kind of want to die for a little bit with that pain, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is that it could have been more serious. So that's where I'm going with that. That's what I'm hoping for, and the reason we haven't heard anything is the old adage, no news is good news. That's what I'm rooting for here. And I'm sure everybody else watching this can agree that no news is good news when it comes to CD. And so looking at that, and then all of the other guys too, like there's so many just to watch and get excited about. There are guys you hear me talk about all the time. Artyom Duda is one that I'm excited to watch. Michael Hrabal, see how he does. And there's also like Max Psinitska is going to be there. So there's a lot of young talent to watch, and it's not just going to be something to whet our appetite for when the NHL roster shows up for training camp. It's going to be guys that are going to be playing hard, and they're not to make any friends. All of those guys are not there to make friends. They are there to make the NHL roster, and they're going to do everything in their power to do so. And watching those top prospects going full bore, and also watching the other guys like Gabe Smith, whose name doesn't really come up as much as it should, get in there and make some noise as well. So it's going to be really exciting. I'm very, very anxious to see just what is on the horizon for this team with these rookie guys, and just get more excited for when the NHL guys show up. Like I said, it's not just to whet the appetite, but it is to whet the appetite to see what, it could be coming down the pipeline, and then when the big guys show up, really get excited for the hockey season to begin. Because it always feels like it's a long offseason. Every year you hear, oh, it's such a long offseason. It's the same amount of time. Time is time, right? And I guess it's relative. We don't need to get into that, but it is the same amount of time. It's just if your team is good, it feels like the off season takes longer just because you're more excited to see them get on the ice and start playing. And especially when your team is on the verge of a breakthrough or is a dark horse to unseat the top 3 in their division, you get a little more antsy, so it feels like the offseason was longer. It's longer for me because I have to do a daily show, and it's just like I have to try to figure out what to talk about for all of you fine people, but yeah, this one felt particularly long this season. I'm sure you felt that way having to listen to me all offseason. But is there any room on the roster for any of these guys to break through? That's the big question. Obviously, in the D core, yeah, it feels like there's one slot up for grabs, and it feels like it's going to be handed to one player in particular. Spoiler alert, it's Dmitry Simashev. But, the door is still cracked open a little wide enough for Maverick Lamoureux to kick the door in. So, is there any room, though, in the forward group? Utah's deeper than it's ever been. Yeah, I think Utah's deeper than it's been in Utah as well as in Arizona. You go lines 1 through 4, there's not an open spot Like, there's not somewhere where you point to and you just say, yep, right there. That's where Tej Iginla is going to go. Tej Iginla is going to go. That's where Caleb Desnoyers is going to fit in. Gabe Smith, that's his spot. There's not really that spot when you go up and down the lineup. Obviously, the top two are set. I mean, the third player on those two lines are going to change, but you would imagine it would be Keller, Trocheck, Schmaltz, and then you got Gunther, Cooley, and Krause, Yamamoto, Lee. Who you got there? Dealer's choice there. Third line, it's Hayton. It could be any mixture of Lee, Krause, Carcone. I mean, you could throw in Yamamoto. Like, McBain. It's almost, you're spoiled for choice there. And then fourth line, it's Stenlund. It's probably McBain. And then that fourth one, is it going to be Yamamoto, Carcone? Is it going to be Tanev, O'Brien? I mean, you're spoiled for choice if you're Andre Tourigny, and that's a really good spot to be. But you can't really point to one of those positions and be like, yeah, that's where I want to see Daniil Boot. That's where I want to see any of those other guys. It doesn't really work, right? Because you don't want those young guys on the fourth line. There's not that much time on the ice for them to really get their feet wet in the league, but also to develop. They're going to be on the bench more often than on the ice, and you don't really want that for those guys. You want them on the ice, you want them playing, you want them improving. And so it'll be interesting to see. Some people are saying it needs to be a perfect training camp for Daniil Boot to get into the team. Same thing with Maverick Lamoureux, maybe even Gabe Smith. I tend to disagree. It could be a combination of a really, really good training camp for one of those young guys and a really, really bad training camp for one of the veterans. That could be the case. And then it will go into preseason. Like, nothing's going to be decided out of training camp. It'll go into the preseason, those 4 games. And if it is a really bad preseason for a guy like Carcone, Tanev, O'Brien, Yamamoto, maybe they get traded. And then, you got the young guy up there playing on that third line with McBain or, obviously with Hayton. Hayton is the third line center. I think we can all agree on that. And so it's just interesting to see, because last season you could pencil in one of these young guys if they were where they're at now in their development cycle versus where they were then. But you could fit in. You could say, yeah, I could, especially with, when Kevin Stenlund. Yeah, Kevin Stenlund went down with injury in preseason. No, Alexander Kerfoot, when he went down, you could see a spot open up for one of those guys. But this season, I don't see an easy, yep, he goes right there and let's go. It's just not there. And that's a really awesome problem to have over the last 2 seasons. But the one forward that I think can just force his way onto the team is Tej Iginla. I do. You all know I'm a huge Tej fan. I have been since the beginning, and it's not just because of the name on the back of his sweater. It's his game. His game is electrifying to watch. When he is at full speed, it's so cool. I mean, I wish I had better insight than saying, it's just cool, man. But I don't. That's just really what it is when you watch Tej Iginla playing at full speed. And he's a very confident player. He's very sure of himself. And if he can hang on to that mindset while still being coachable, sky's the limit for him. He could be that third piece on the Cooley-Gunther line. And just thinking about that, yeah, it gets the juices of imagination flowing of just how good that line can be for the future and the present, in all honesty. Because if he can get onto that line, a lot of teams would be so focused on Gunther and Cooley that there would be a little extra space for Iginla, and so he can work his way into those spots to get those goals. I mean, come on. You can't, if you can't get excited on that, let me know why. Maybe bring me out of Cloud 9 a little bit, but he is the guy I think, even if it's not a perfect rookie camp or a perfect training camp, I think he can still muscle his way into the opening night roster. But if we can take like last year as an example, when Kerfoot went down, they didn't have a young guy fill his spot. It was Andrew Agozzino, who's now a coach for the Tucson Roadrunners. That's kind of I think the direction that Andre Tourigny would go again. He would stick with his veterans to start the season if none of them really live up to expectations, and then the young guys are tearing it up in their league, then I can see a change happen. But not to pour cold water on the whole exercise here, but that's how I really think it's going to happen. Tej Ginla is my pick. Caleb Desnoyers, if he's healthy, I don't know if he can. I don't know if there's a spot for him. Because would you healthy scratch a Kevin Stenlund in favor of Caleb Desnoyers? I wouldn't. Just because Kevin Stenlund is crucial to the penalty kill. He is your face-off maestro. He's not a guy you healthy scratch. You could healthy scratch Barrett Hayton, I guess, but that's a very expensive healthy scratch. And Barrett Hayton would have to be performing worse than he did last year. And I don't see that happening because he's going to be playing for a contract. Whether it's with Utah or on the free agent market, Barrett Hayton's going to be playing for a contract. So I expect to see a stronger season out of him than we saw last year. And then you're not going to be replacing Logan Cooley or Vincent Trocheck or Nick Schmaltz at the center position. So where do you put Desnoyers? Yeah, I don't think you do. And then Gabe Smith, kind of the same problem. So those guys are going to have to continue to tear it up in their respective leagues next season. But Tej Ginla is my pick. I know, shocker, Matt picks Tej. But that's what I'm thinking as far as if there is a forward that can bounce one of those veterans out, it would be Tej. And lastly, the defenseman. I mean, is it cheating just to say Dmitry Simashev? It feels like it's cheating. It's not really a prediction. It's not one where you go, yep, that's a feather in my cap. I picked that one. Not really. I mean, he's already he's penciled in for that last defensive pairing, and you can almost set it in ink. Get out your Bic pen and just write it in ink and say, yeah, he's that third pairing along with Peak or DeSimone, depending on how it works out. I think that's what's going to happen. But there is a world where Maverick Lamoureux, he keeps trying to play outside of himself, and I get why. He wants to show that he's a multifaceted defenseman who can score. And when he does that, he gets himself out of position and it looks a little bit rough. He's also had injury issues in the past, but he could outperform DeSimone or Peak. He really could. And so it would be not ideal to have two rookies in that third pairing, but you could rotate them, right? One game it's Simashev, another game, or 1 week it's Simashev, another week it's Lamoureux, rotating out with DeSimone or Peak. I can see that happening. Is it plausible? No. Is it possible? Sure. Anything's possible under the sun, but it's not very plausible. But it does feel like cheating when you say, yeah, this rookie's going to make it out of camp to make the roster, when it almost feels like the roster was set up for him to make it onto the team out of preseason and training camp. It feels a little cheating to say that. But does Simashev count as he does count as a rookie if he were to play the full season next year, but he was around for a long time in the first part of the year when Utah was dealing with injuries. Sean Dursey was out for a little bit, and then he had some injuries to other players too. He filled in, I would say, admirably for not ever playing in the NHL before, and he paired up very well with Mikhail Sergachev. So I'm very excited to see what Dmitry Simashev can build on, because he flashed an offensive game that a lot of people didn't think he was going to have last season in Tucson. Obviously, the AHL is very different than the NHL, but if he can even be a pseudo threat to get the puck on net, and that rhymed, but if he could, that's huge. It's huge. So, yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments section below. What rookie do you see making it out of training camp, rookie camp, whatever it is? How do you see it happening? Is it because a veteran falls off, or is it because the young guy just comes in and just blows the barn doors off and announces himself? I'd be very curious to see what you guys have to say. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, please rate it 5 stars. Leave whatever review you feel is necessary. And I will see you guys in the next one. Tusks up.